Imagine opening the door to your home and discovering it is filled with objects that attract negative energies and malevolent influences. It's shocking to think that some common items might actually be disturbing the peace and harmony of your home. 7 demonic things you have to remove today from your home isn't just a provocative title. It's an urgent call to purify your environment. Often, unknowingly, we allow certain objects to bring spiritual disturbances that affect our daily lives and spiritual well-being. Have you ever wondered why certain spaces in your home feel heavy or full of tension? The answer might lie in the objects you keep. Pagan idols, amulets, and even creepy dolls might be contributing to a spiritually toxic environment. The good news is, there's a solution. By identifying and removing these demonic objects, you can restore peace and sanctity to your home. This guide will reveal the 7 key items you should eliminate immediately to protect your family and renew God's presence in your home. Curious to find out if you have any of these objects? Stay with us and discover how small changes can bring about a significant transformation. After all, your home should be a place of refuge, not a spiritual battleground. Let's embark on this journey of purification and blessings, removing anything that might be hindering the manifestation of divine prosperity in your life. 1. Broken mirror. Imagine walking into a room and seeing a broken mirror. For many, this immediately evokes a sense of bad luck, doesn't it? Broken mirrors have long been considered harbingers of negative energies. These objects can attract demonic objects, creating a hostile environment in your own home. Moreover, it's said that a broken mirror can even trap evil spirits, reflecting their negative intentions back at the observer. From a Christian perspective, it's essential to remember that our home should be a sanctuary of peace and harmony. When you encounter a broken mirror at home, it might be a sign to reflect on the spiritual influences around you. Removing this object is a practical and symbolic step to restore order and serenity. Just as Jesus cast out demons and brought healing, you too can rid your home of objects that bring spiritual disturbance. Did you know that many advise not just discarding the broken mirror, but also praying during the process? Prayer strengthens our faith and wards off negative influences. Consider this act as a way to renew the energy of your home. It may seem simple, but removing demonic objects like a broken mirror can significantly impact the spiritual atmosphere of your house. Now, think about the other objects you have at home. 2. Broken clock. A broken clock might seem like a harmless object, but it symbolizes much more than just a lack of functionality. In many homes, a stopped clock represents stagnation and the absence of progress. Imagine looking at a clock and realizing that time isn't moving. This can directly reflect on your spiritual and emotional life. These objects can become true demonic objects, perpetuating an environment of inertia and discouragement. As Christians, we are called to live in constant renewal and movement, always advancing in our walk with God. A broken clock at home can be a reminder that something is out of sync. Just as Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 reminds us that there is a time for everything, keeping a non-functional clock can disrupt the natural flow of blessings in our life. Removing this object can symbolize a fresh start, where you decide to align your time with the divine purpose. If you have a broken clock at home, perhaps it's time to replace it or simply get rid of it. During this process, say a prayer asking God to restore movement and progress in your life. Imagine how liberating it will be to remove an object that symbolizes stagnation and make room for new opportunities. Remember, objects' home can influence more than we imagine. Speaking of influences, let's explore another item that can bring spiritual disturbance. 3. Dolls. Dolls, especially those that are old or have a somewhat sinister appearance, have a peculiar way of making us feel uncomfortable. Often, these dolls are seen as carriers of negative energies or even disturbing spiritual influences. In various cultures and traditions, dolls have been used in rituals and occult practices, becoming true demonic objects. These items can carry a spiritual charge that is not healthy for a Christian home. The Bible teaches us to be vigilant about the influences around us. Ephesians 6 verse 12 reminds us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the spiritual forces of evil. Keeping dolls that evoke fear or discomfort can be an invitation for these forces to operate in your home. Replacing these dolls with objects that bring joy and peace can transform the atmosphere of your home, making it a place of rest and safety. For those who have old or inherited dolls, consider carefully the spiritual impact of these items. It may be difficult to part with an object that has sentimental value, but think about the spiritual well-being of your family. Remove these dolls and, during the process, pray for protection and purification for your home. Just as we clean our home physically, we should also purify it spiritually, getting rid of demonic objects that can bring disturbance. And speaking of purification, let's move on to another type of object that can have a negative influence.
Pagan idols.
Pagan idols, such as statues, figures, or images that represent gods from other religions, can introduce conflicting spiritual energies into a Christian home. These demonic objects have a spiritual presence that can affect the atmosphere of your house. Keeping these idols might unintentionally invite influences that are not aligned with Christian principles and God's presence in your life. The Bible is clear regarding idolatry. In Exodus 20 verses 3 to 4, we are instructed to have no other gods before the Lord and not to make any graven images for worship. Having pagan idols at home can create a spiritual division and attract influences that drive away the presence of God. Removing these objects is a crucial step to purify your environment and reaffirm your commitment to the Christian faith. The presence of idols can be a spiritual block, preventing the flow of blessings and peace. If you have pagan idols in your home, consider the importance of getting rid of them. During this process, say a prayer asking God to purify your home and renew your commitment to Him. This act of faith can transform your environment, bringing a new wave of peace and harmony. As you remove these demonic objects, you will be creating a space more conducive to the divine presence. And while talking about spiritual influences, let's examine amulets and talismans next. 5. Amulets and talismans. Amulets and talismans are often used as objects of luck or protection. However, for Christians, relying on these demonic objects can be spiritually dangerous. These items frequently carry connotations and spiritual influences that do not align with the Christian faith. Instead of depending on amulets, we should place our trust and security in God, who is our true protector. In Isaiah 41 verse 10, God tells us, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Trusting in objects home like amulets can lead us away from this divine promise. It's important to remember that our strength and protection come from the Lord, not from material objects. Removing these amulets can be a vital step in reinforcing our faith and dependence on God. If you have amulets or talismans at home, consider replacing them with symbols that represent your Christian faith, such as a cross or a Bible. During the removal of these objects, say a prayer asking God to strengthen your faith and protect your family. This practice can help cleanse your home of conflicting spiritual influences and bring a sense of peace and security. And speaking of spiritual influences, let's explore the impact of masks and tribal artifacts next. 6. Masks and tribal artifacts. Masks and tribal artifacts can be fascinating and culturally rich, but they also carry deep spiritual meanings that are not always beneficial. Many of these objects home are used in tribal cults and rituals that can invoke spiritual forces conflicting with the Christian faith. The presence of such demonic objects in your home can bring spiritual disturbance and affect the peace and harmony we seek to maintain. Deuteronomy 18 verses 10 to 12 warns us against engaging in occult practices and spiritisms, stating that these things are detestable to the Lord. Keeping masks and tribal artifacts that have been used in rituals can inadvertently open doors to unwanted spiritual influences. Removing these objects is a way to protect your home from any negative energy associated with them, creating a safer and spiritually aligned environment with your faith. If you have masks or tribal artifacts at home, consider the history and use of these items before deciding to keep them. The removal of these objects can be accompanied by a purification prayer, asking God to cleanse your home of any negative spiritual influence. This not only helps maintain a healthy spiritual environment, but also reaffirms your commitment to the Christian faith. And now, let's look more closely at objects associated with strange religious practices and their spiritual impact. 7 Objects associated with strange religious practices. Objects used in strange religious practices, such as rosaries from other religions or candles consecrated in non-Christian rituals, can bring a spiritual charge that conflicts with the Christian faith. These demonic objects, when kept at home, can create an atmosphere of spiritual confusion, driving away God's presence. It is essential to recognize that our home should be a sanctuary dedicated to the Lord, free from influences that do not glorify Him. In 2 Corinthians 6 verses 14 to 15, we are advised not to be yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship can light have with darkness? Keeping objects home that have been consecrated in strange religious practices can inadvertently open doors to unwanted spiritual influences. Removing these objects is a crucial step to ensure our home is spiritually aligned with our faith in Christ. If you have objects associated with strange religious practices at home, consider the importance of removing them to restore the spiritual purity of your environment. During the removal, say a prayer asking God to cleanse your home and renew your faith. This practice helps protect your house from negative spiritual influences and maintains an atmosphere of peace and holiness. With this understanding, you are ready to transform your home into a true sanctuary of God. Now that you know the 7 objects that may be bringing negative spiritual influences into your home, it's time to take action. Imagine the transformation that can occur by removing these demonic objects and purifying your environment. How do you feel knowing that you can restore peace and harmony in your home with these simple actions? God calls us to live in an environment that reflects His holiness and love, and you have the power to make this change today. Which of these objects did you recognize in your home? Are you ready to get rid of them and make room for God's blessings? Don't wait any longer to make this crucial decision. Share in the comments what steps you plan to take and how you expect this to improve your life. Remember, small changes can bring about significant spiritual transformations. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue learning more about how to protect and bless your life with biblical principles. Together, we can create an environment that glorifies God and promotes prosperity in all areas of our lives.